Oh, getting tired. Oh, right, question 6 then. So we're getting through this. A of a triangle, you should be thinking to yourself, you're given the formula, it's just a straight substitution. A half AB sine C. What does that mean, A, B, and C? Well, when we label up our triangle, if I call this angle C, this would have to be side C. So if this is angle B, this would be side B. And if this is angle A, that would be side A. So as you can see, we've got A, we've got B, and we've got C. So in mathematical terms, if you talk about A, B, and angle C, you're really just talking about, in mathematical triangle terms, you're talking about the angle between two lengths. Okay, so all this is, it's the two sides between this angle. So I'm saying a half multiplied by 25 multiplied by 32 times sine of 58. That's it. So substitute all that in correctly, you're getting a mark, and if you do that in your calculator, you're going to end up with 339.21 centimeters squared. Great 2 marks to have. So if it wanted, for example, or if it gave you all the angles, you would just have to make sure that the one you're using is the one between two sides. Okay, so if they give you this angle and this angle as well, you would ignore them and go straight for this one. Okay, so nice wee 2 marks. You're given that equation. Don't have to remember it. You just have to know how to use it. Same with this. Solving equations with two significant figures. So the minute it's talking about rounding solving equations, you should be thinking negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Okay. If it didn't say that, solving this would be, okay, so how do you solve a quadratic? Well, you always take a common factor out first if you can. Then it's either a difference of two squares or it's your trinomials. Trinomials got 3 parts in them. The easy trinomials add to this number and multiply to this number, but if you've got a number in front of the x squared, it's going to add to the 2, yes, but it's going to multiply to negative 28. It's going to multiply to this times this. As you can see there, nothing, not any whole number anyway, adds to this and multiplies to this, which is why we have to use our quadratic formula, which works for every single trinomial when it's in this form, like the x squared x number and then equals 0. So I would just write out what everything is. A is 4, B is 2, and C is negative 7. And then what I tend to do also is work out my discriminant, b squared minus 4ac. So that's going to be 2 squared, take away 4 times 4 times negative 7. So that's going to be 4 take away, so 28 times 7. I'll just do that down here, 28 times 7. 7 8s are 56. 14, so 196, so negative 196. 2 negatives make a positive, so that's going to come out as 200. Possibly not, actually. Let me just double check that again. Whoops, did a little, I mismultiplied my number. I did the wrong ones, that's fine. So that's okay, so that's going to come out as 116. Okay, next one. So we just do our substitution, negative b, so negative 2, plus or minus the square root of 116. 2a is going to give me 8. And to that, I break off into two directions. I say, well, I can do negative 2 plus 116 over 8, or the answer could be take away the 116 over 8. If you do that in your calculator, you should find that you get 1.09 and negative 1.59. Nice one. So if we do that, we then need to round to two significant figures. So that's going to become 1, 2. So that'll be 1.1. And this one, two significant figures, that'll become negative 1.6. So that's it. There we go. So sorry about that little mistake there. I just multiplied the wrong numbers in my head. I did this times 7 rather than this times 7. So ABC, A is in front of x squared, B is in front of x, C is what's left over. It has to be equal to 0. It has to be in this form. So if you have this bit equals 7, get the 7 over and then you're able to do ABC. I would work out the discriminant separately, just because we do it for some other questions. When the discriminant is greater than 0, like this, you can see we have 2 real and distinct roots. When the discriminant is equal to 0, we end up with 2 numbers here that come out the same, so we say we've got 2 real and equal roots. If this comes out as negative, we can't do the square root of a negative number, so we say we have no real roots. So that's why I do that separately sometimes. And don't forget your rounding. But yeah, nice 4 marks to be had. You're getting a mark for your full substitution, you're getting a mark for your discriminant, a mark for the solve, and a mark for the rounding. Quite nice, isn't it? Quite nice. Good wee question. So yeah, remember that is there. An equation you were given. Okay, classic. Height of the tunnel. You see a circle with a bit cut out. You should be thinking to yourself, drawing your perpendicular bisector. And from this, we can do Pythagoras. So x squared is going to be 2.9 squared. Take away 2 squared. So if you get your calculator out, that's going to come in as 2.1. So x is 2.1. Don't forget, you have to do this and then square root it. So x is 2.1. So if x is 2.1, the full height, how do I get full height? What is this distance here? Well, that distance is a radius, and the radius is that. It's also the same as that, because that's the edge of the circle, that's the center. So the radius is 2.9. So the height is going to be 2.1 plus the radius. So 2.1 plus 2.9. So it's 5 meters. Now look at that, 4 marks. How much easier was that than this question with all the working out? So this is making your brain work to figure out what's going on in the circle. But when you see a circle a bit cut out, you should be thinking, do your Pythagoras, and then think about what's going on. So that's a radius, that's a radius, that's a radius, this would be a radius. Watch out for all that stuff. But you're drawing your triangle. You would get a mark for just drawing the triangle out, and then a mark for the Pythagoras, a mark for the answer. So drawing that, doing this and this, there's 3 marks there. 1, 2, 3, and your final mark 4. Great question. Great question to get. Okay, solve the equation. Right, so a little bit of trig. I'd say these ones, excuse the pun, a little bit triggy. Right? These can be a little bit tricky. But all we're doing really is rearranging to make x the subject. Okay, so first thing I would do here is I'd be taking away 4 and dividing by 3. So I would say that sine x is equal to 2 over 3. Because 6 take away 4 is 2, and then divide by 3. And how do I get x on its own? Well, I do the inverse of sine, which is just shift sign on your calculator. So if you do shift sign, 2 divided by 3, that gives you 41, I'll call it 0.8 degrees. Now we're not quite finished, because don't forget, we have got a sine wave. So if we're asking, well, when is the sine wave? We're saying, when does that equal 2/3? Well, that's 1, that's -1. So 2/3 is maybe along here. You can see we've got 2 answers. And to work out our second answer, we just use our cast diagram. Sine is positive here, so sine is positive in all and sine. So one of my answers is x, and the other answer is 180 take away x. So in quadrant 1, my answer is just 41.8, that's cool. And in quadrant 2, it's 180 take away 41.x. So 180 take away 41. 0.8, 138.2 degrees. So a nice little question. Sometimes they can be a bit tricky, people don't like them. The thing that's difficult is if you end up here with a negative. So that sine x is negative 2/3. You have to do an inverse sine of positive 2/3. This is always positive, always positive. Okay? I'm just going to write that, always positive. And then from here, you would say, well, wait a minute, I don't want this answer, because I'm looking for when is sine negative. It's negative in here and here. So then you would write down the 2 answers for those quadrants. So when you get a negative bit there, do this positive, and then you're finding out the 2 negative quadrants. Okay, that's probably the trickiest bit. So look, in reality, not wildly hard actually, but it's something that people do seem to struggle with. You know, it's maybe not something you can visualize as well, but yeah, following your steps, you're just rearranging to make x the subject, and you always want this as positive. Don't forget your cast diagram. Nice one. So let's move on to question 10. I'll maybe do this in the next video.